Hey, you. Welcome back to Secrets with Maeve, the space for the conversations we usually keep to ourselves. I'm Maeve. Today we're talking about something I know so many of us struggle with in silence. She won't cry. She'll do this instead. Let's get into it. The moment she realizes she's lost you is the moment she finally sees you. Not when you were chasing her, not when you were proving yourself, not when you were bending over backwards trying to keep her. No, it's when you go silent in a way that feels permanent. That's when something inside her shifts and it's too late. You were never supposed to know this. But women don't fully understand your value. When you're always available, your presence becomes predictable. Your attention becomes expected. And what is expected is rarely appreciated. You think consistency will make her feel safe, and it does. But safety without tension slowly turns into indifference. But when you're gone, truly gone, not pretending, not playing games, her mind begins to fill in the silence, and silence is powerful. Silence forces reflection. Silence creates questions she can't ignore. Why isn't he reaching out? Why does it feel different this time? Did I lose him for real? That's when she starts to revisit every moment she took for granted. She remembers how you listened when no one else did. She remembers the way you looked at her when she felt insecure. She remembers your patience, your presence, your effort, all the things she once assumed would always be there and now they're not. And here's the part that hits the hardest. She doesn't just miss you. She feels the loss of control because when you were chasing, she was leading the dynamic. She set the pace. She decided when to respond, when to pull back, when to give you just enough to keep you there. But now the power has shifted and she feels it. She feels it in the way her phone stays quiet. She feels it in the way your name doesn't show up anymore. She feels it in the uncomfortable realization that she no longer knows where she stands with you. And that uncertainty, it eats at her because women are deeply emotional beings, but they are also incredibly perceptive. She knows when a man is still emotionally attached. She can sense when you're waiting for her, hoping for her, orbiting around her. And as long as she feels that, she doesn't fear losing you. But the second that energy disappears, completely disappears, her instincts wake up. Now she's the one wondering. Now she's the one overthinking. Now she's the one feeling the distance you once felt. And here's the truth. Most men never accept. You didn't lose her when you stopped chasing. You revealed her true feelings because if she only starts valuing you after you walk away, then she never truly valued you when you stayed. And that realization, it changes everything because now it's not about getting her back. It's about understanding why she only saw your worth when you were no longer there to give it. And once you understand that, you stop playing the game entirely. You stop trying to convince someone to choose you because the right person never needs to lose you to realize your value. When a woman knows she's truly lost you, she doesn't react the way you expect. She reacts in phases. At first, it's subtle, almost invisible. She tells herself it's nothing, that you're just busy, that you'll come back like you always did. Because in her mind, you've always come back. You've always been there. You've always chosen her, no matter how distant she became. So she waits, not because she doesn't care, but because she believes she still has time. But time is the one thing she miscalculates because this time you don't return. And that's when the second phase begins, the confusion. Her mind starts connecting dots that don't make sense to her. Your silence feels heavier, different. It doesn't feel like space. It feels like absence. And there's a difference between the two that she can't ignore anymore. Space still carries hope. Absence feels like loss. Now she starts checking your patterns. When were you last active? Did you view her story? Did you like anything? Are you moving on? Is there someone else? And this is where it gets interesting. She doesn't just miss you. She starts questioning herself. What did I do wrong? Was I too distant? Did I push him too far? These are questions she never asked when you were chasing her because she didn't have to. Your presence protected her from self-reflection, but your absence forces it. And reflection is uncomfortable because now she has to face the version of herself that didn't appreciate you fully. Now she has to sit with the reality that maybe, just maybe, you gave more than she did. And that thought, it disturbs her because attraction isn't just about feelings, it's about perception. And the moment her perception of you shifts from someone who will always be there to someone she can actually lose, you become more real to her than ever before. But here's the twist. Most men don't see coming. She may not reach out immediately. In fact, sometimes she pulls back even more. Why? Because pride steps in. Ego whispers, don't chase him. If he wanted you, he'd come back. So now she's in a silent battle between emotion and ego. Her emotions are pulling her toward you. Her ego is pushing her away. And this internal conflict creates tension inside her that she doesn't know how to release. So she watches quietly. She checks your life from a distance. She tries to read between the lines of your silence. She searches for signs that you still care without risking her own vulnerability. And this is where many men make the mistake. They break. They reach out too early. They interrupt the very process that was making her feel your absence. And the moment you do that, everything resets because now she knows you're still there. You haven't really left. And the emotional weight she was starting to feel, it disappears. This is why real detachment is rare, because it's not just about not texting. It's about genuinely letting go of the outcome. And when you reach that point, when your silence isn't a strategy, but a reflection of your self-respect, that's when she feels it the most. Not as a gain, but as a loss she can't control anymore. And then comes the phase she never talks about, the emotional pullback that turns into quiet pursuit. This is where everything flips, because now she doesn't just feel your absence. She starts feeling your presence in everything that reminds her of you. A song, a place, a late night thought she can't shake. You begin to exist in her mind more now than when you were actually there. That's the paradox. When you were present, she didn't have to think about you this deeply. Now that you're gone, she can't stop. And this is where her behavior starts to change in ways most men misread. She might start watching your stories again, not immediately, but gradually. One view turns into consistent checking, not because she wants you to know, but because she wants to feel close without being seen. She may like something randomly, something old, something subtle, not enough to start a conversation, but enough to test the water. Is he still paying attention? But it's not really about your attention. It's about reassurance, because now she's the one seeking emotional confirmation that she hasn't completely lost her place in your world. And if you don't react, that's when it intensifies. She might post things she knows will catch your eye, not directly for you, but indirectly, hoping you'll notice. A picture that reflects confidence, a caption that hints at moving on. Something designed to make you question just like she's questioning. This isn't manipulation in the way most people think. It's human nature trying to regain emotional balance because right now she's off center. For the first time, she doesn't feel in control of how you feel about her. And that lack of control creates desire, not the shallow kind, but the kind rooted in uncertainty. Because certainty kills curiosity, and curiosity is what pulls people back. But here's where it gets even deeper. She may start rewriting the story of you in her mind. Suddenly, your flaws don't seem as significant. The things that once annoyed her feel small. And the things she overlooked, they become magnified. Your patience becomes rare. Your loyalty becomes valuable. Your presence becomes something she realizes not everyone offers. And this mental shift is powerful because it changes how she feels without you doing anything. No convincing, no explaining, no chasing, just absence doing what presence couldn't. But there's a hidden truth inside this phase that most men ignore. Just because she starts to feel your value doesn't mean she'll act on it in the way you expect. Sometimes she'll sit with these feelings quietly. Sometimes she'll suppress them to protect her ego. And sometimes she'll come close to reaching out, type your name, and stop herself at the last second. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's afraid. afraid that you've truly moved on, afraid that she no longer has the same place in your life, afraid that if she reaches out, she might confirm the very loss she's trying to avoid. And that fear, that's when she finally understands what you felt all along. Uncertainty, doubt, emotional risk. But now it's hers to carry. And whether she acts on it or not, one thing becomes undeniable. You are no longer the man she once took for granted. You are now the man she might have lost. And this is the part no one prepares you for when she finally reaches the edge of her pride. Because there comes a moment, quiet, unannounced, where the silence becomes too loud for her to ignore. It's no longer just curiosity. It's no longer just ego versus emotion. It becomes something heavier, something real. Regret, not the kind she admits to her friends, not the kind she posts about, but the kind that shows up when she's alone, when distractions fade, when there's nothing left to numb the truth. She starts replaying the last conversations you had. Not the words she said out loud, but the things she felt and never expressed. The times she could have chosen you more clearly. The moments she pulled away when she should have leaned in. And now those moments don't feel small anymore. They feel like missed chances. And regret has a strange way of reshaping reality, because now she doesn't just see what you were, she sees what you could have been. And that imagined version of you, the one where things worked, where she showed up differently, where she didn't take you for granted, that version becomes almost impossible to let go of. But here's the truth that stings. By the time she reaches this level of awareness, you've already changed. Not because you wanted revenge, not because you were trying to prove a point, but because walking away forced you to grow. You learned what it feels like to choose yourself. You learned what it means to stop chasing validation. You learned that love without respect slowly destroys you. And once a man truly understands that, he doesn't go back the same. So, when she finally gathers the courage to reach out, whether it's a simple hey, a random check-in, or something deeper, it's not just a message, it's a test, not of you, but of the dynamic she once controlled. She's trying to feel where she stands now. Is he still the same? Does he still respond the same way? Is he still emotionally available in the way he used to be? And your response or your silence answers everything. Because if you respond instantly, emotionally, eagerly, the old dynamic begins to rebuild itself. Familiar patterns return. She feels the same sense of control. And slowly, without realizing it, you step back into the version of yourself you worked so hard to leave behind. But if something in you has shifted, if your energy is calm, grounded, not driven by the need to win her back, she feels that difference immediately. And that difference creates something powerful. Respect, not forced, not demanded, felt, because now she's interacting with a man who is no longer attached in the same way, a man who values himself enough to walk away and mean it. And that kind of man is rare, but here's the uncomfortable truth. Even at this stage, even when she feels regret, even when she reaches out, even when she sees your value clearly, it doesn't guarantee the outcome you once wanted, because timing matters, growth matters, and sometimes realization comes too late. Not because love wasn't there, but because the version of you that needed her no longer exists. And that's when the final shift happens. Not in her, but in you. Because now you're no longer asking, how do I get her back? You're asking something much deeper. Does she still deserve a place in my life? And now comes the final, most profound truth, the one most men never see coming. The stage where she fully confronts the consequences of losing you. This is where everything she thought she controlled slips through her fingers, and she's forced to face the reality she avoided for so long. At this point, she no longer debates whether you'll come back. She knows you might never return. And that knowledge, it changes her entirely. It awakens a mix of longing and respect she never felt when you were constantly available. She begins to recognize the value of your presence, not as something she could take for granted, but as something that shaped her life in ways she didn't understand until it was gone. And in that recognition, emotions become raw, vulnerability peaks. She feels the weight of every moment she didn't show appreciation. Every time she pulled away, doubted, or tested you, it all comes rushing back. And she realizes that losing you was never just about losing a man. It was about losing the stability, the understanding, the depth of connection that only you brought. She starts to measure herself against the version of you that exists without her. Calm, self-assured, untethered. And suddenly, she understands that the dynamic has shifted entirely. No longer is she the center of your emotional universe. No longer does she dictate the rhythm of attention, the pace of care, or the measure of affection. That space belongs to you because you chose yourself first. And this is where psychology hits hardest. Absence didn't just make her realize she could lose you. It made her feel the loss at a cellular level. Her mind searches for ways to regain proximity, to reconnect, but pride, ego, and fear hold her back. She hesitates, replays scenarios in her head, debates reaching out, all while the truth settles in deeper. She can't control you anymore, and control for many women is more intoxicating than desire itself. But here's the lesson. Few men grasp fully. This isn't punishment. This is clarity. This is natural consequence. It's the universe showing that attachment without balance only breeds dependence. True respect, true desire comes when the other person sees the value of what they've lost without manipulation. She may try to bridge the gap. She may test, flirt, or send subtle signals. She may reach out cautiously to measure your reaction. But by now, you are no longer the man she could easily manipulate or predict. Your boundaries are firm, your energy centered, and your emotional independence undeniable. And that, above all, is what she truly misses. The version of you who existed fully in yourself, not fully for her. And here's the final quiet truth. The way she treats you after she realizes she's lost you reveals everything about her character. It shows whether her attachment was conditional, whether her respect was genuine, and whether her love could have matched the depth you offered. Some women rise to this revelation with maturity and care. Others falter, bitter or distant, unwilling or unable to meet the standard you set by choosing yourself. So here's my challenge for you. Think about your own relationships. Multiply the value of your presence by the respect you demand for yourself. Subtract the times you compromised your worth for temporary connection. Now, what number do you end up with? Drop the answer in the comments. And if this video helped you understand the truth about female psychology, like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this. The truth is clear. Once you walk away, she either grows into the space you leave or she remains forever unaware of what she lost. And the power always belongs to the one who values themselves.